Well, we are finally back to that position that we've always felt like we found ourselves in under Eddie Howe, where winning football matches is just becoming a bit of a weekly and a regular thing. It was another good result, but what felt like a little bit of a routine result against Burnley, and sometimes those are the best ones. Bruno's back firing on all cylinders. Momentum is back with Newcastle in a really, really good time. But also, that squad depth that we thought looked incredible is already being tested a little bit. There's lots of things to talk about on this last word, so Newcastle fans, do us a little favour. Make sure you stick around. Welcome back to Black and White Banter, you lovely Newcastle fans. And again, as I'm posting this video, I hope your week has started pretty well. Eddie Howe's Mags are back to doing exactly what Eddie Howe's Mags have always done, and that is win football matches and also keep clean sheets. But before we get into all that, Newcastle fans, do me a little favour. Drop down before I talk any further and give us a little likey loo. One of them goes a very long way and it takes you a second. So if you haven't already done it now, do it now. That's how long it takes. Click. Literally takes seconds. Whack that subscribe if you like my opinion by the end of this video, and go down and check some of my match vlogs. There's been a lot lately. I have not missed one Newcastle game this season, which was something that was quite weird for me to realise when I sat down and just gave it a thought. All the way back to Gateshead in the pissing down rain, to America, to now what we are looking at, PSG on Wednesday in the Champions League at St James's Park. Every match has been ticked off, so there's plenty of content already there and plenty of content to come. Do that now, that'll be wonderful. Before I get into this video though, I do just want to say this particular last word video is sponsored and endorsed by a fine young gentleman who came in my comments on my match vlog, username 1000 something, to tell me that I have a Middlesbrough accent and I've probably just started supporting Newcastle since the takeover. This video is endorsed by him. If he's watching this, what a lovely comment that was to read on YouTube, and it made my day. The only thing was it wouldn't let me pin it to the top because it was a comment under someone else's comment. YouTube, you need to sort that out. I've been to Middlesbrough about 4 or 5 times in my life. 2 of those were for away games, and you seriously need to work on your accents. I apologise that I wasn't born on Newcastle penalty spot, and I would love to sit down with you sometime and talk some Newcastle trivia from years gone by. Let me know, drop us a message on Facebook, Instagram or TikTok if you'd like to do that. So thank you very much for that sponsor for this video. So let's move on. So, Eddie Howe's Mags upsetting Mr. Vincent Kompany once again. I imagined his dressing room probably looked a little bit something like this.
95 minutes, we just wasted time. You wasted your time, I wasted my time.
And it was a good result. I'm not going to talk about the game too much, that's what the end of my match vlogs are for. But it was another 3 points, and it was a game that where we maybe have to start expecting to be the overwhelming favourite. It's not going to happen all the time. But St James's Park is a fortress that I think we sometimes forget about. That's 37 matches now where only Liverpool, Man City and Arsenal, 3 of the best teams in the country, have won in all of that time under Eddie Howe. That's an absolutely incredible record that I hope can lead into that Champions League campaign this season, starting on Wednesday at St James's against PSG. So we should not ever underestimate how strong we are at home, no matter who we are playing. And Burnley showed up. I don't think their fans expected too much. I don't think Vincent Kompany, the Premier League is a funny old game, as we saw on Saturday with Luton getting the first win and, Crystal Palace going to Man United and getting a result just after getting beaten the cup the previous couple of days ago. It's a funny league, and that's why I was nervous being the overwhelming favourite, because there's no such thing as a sure thing in the Premier League, and anyone who knows the league well enough should know that by now. But we got over the line. I don't think we came out of third gear. I don't think we had to come out of third gear. The goal in the first half was important, I thought, because we weren't great in the final third across the game. And we did need that little bit of magic to get us going, which obviously Almiron supplied. Mr. Almiron, who I definitely wanted in the team from the get-go. And it was, once we got the 1-goal lead, it was always going to be difficult for Burnley. We still had to stay switched on. We still needed a second And obviously Anthony Gordon did some lovely work on that left-hand side to win that penalty. And then once the second goal went in, I was pretty relaxed. I really, really was. And we got over the line before a huge, huge game on Wednesday. But before we talk about Champions League, which will be in the coming days, as exciting and frothing mouth. I'm just going to squash that one. That didn't come out how I wanted it to. Basically, all of that lovely stuff on Wednesday that is going to give me a frothing mouth, should I say, we can just put to one side for a second, because there was a game of football on Saturday. So what did I think, as I always like to talk about, were the main talking points from Burnley at home? Well, there's only one place to start for me, and yes, a lot of the individual players we talked about are going to keep creeping up as being the same, but one man who has started this season under huge criticism, under the spotlight, is Mr. Bruno Guimaraes. I thought he was absolutely brilliant on Saturday. He was my man of the match, and I think what we are seeing now, since the international break, is the Bruno we all know that's in there. The fiery Bruno, the creative Bruno, the silky Bruno. And over the last 3 to 4 matches, we've seen it. Brentford, I thought he was better in the second half, and we went on to win that game in what was a really gritty, just literally a get-over-the-line game, as best as I could describe that one. AC Milan, where we didn't get much chance to attack and put our stamp on the game as much, I still thought he was good. He was solid in there, in that central area, which was key. Sheffield United, every player on the pitch was good as we scored 8 goals, but I thought he was brilliant. He was that was a perfect game for Bruno. And then on Saturday, I thought he was spreading the ball around for fun. His pass to Isak in the first half when he should have scored was brilliant. He was trying things. He was linking up with Almiron. He was spreading the ball out to Gordon and mainly out to Trippier at every opportunity in that pivot role that he likes to play. And I just think he's back to his best. Can we sit here and talk about Longstaff being the reason for that? Of course we can, but I'm not going to do that today because Longstaff has been talked about a lot recently. Yes, that's a huge factor, but I don't care what the factor is. One fan on Saturday said, well, he has had another kid. That could be something that's going on in his life, along with the contract talks. Having one baby is hard enough. Having 2, he's going to be getting sleepless nights every night. Yeah, maybe as fans we don't take into consideration life for footballers away from football. You know, if I go into the office tomorrow or today and see someone and speak to someone who's just recently had a second baby, chances are they are going to be looking like a bag of shite and not even wanting to speak to me till they've smashed 4 coffees in. So do we think about that with footballers? No, maybe not, because they live this pampered lifestyle. But for whatever reason it is, Bruno, 3 games into the season, was not the same Bruno we knew. And we were all a little bit worried that he'd carried over this kind of stagnant form that we saw at the back end of last season when he had a couple of niggles. But sure enough, that's changed. That's gone out the window. And interestingly, I did some research into his stats. Now, there's lots of players for Newcastle getting praise. Anthony Gordon, rightly so, being one of them. Kieran Trippier at full-back. There's so many different players you can dissect as being in great form at the moment. Bruno, in this Newcastle team, his stats since the international break. And yes, these stats are across the whole season, but trust me, I don't want to bog you down with too many. If you dissect these a little bit further from pre-international break to post, they are very, very different. So I'm just going to run you through some now, which I'll put on the screen whilst I'm looking at them. Successful tackles. He comes up higher than Kieran Trippier and Anthony Gordon for that in this Newcastle team. We go a little bit further down. Successful dribbles. He's only second to Anthony Gordon. We all know how Anthony Gordon has been getting so much praise. So he's winning that one. Passes to the final third. He's higher than Kieran Trippier, who again we know likes to ping a ball in. That's how much Bruno has contributed a little bit more post-international break in an attacking sense. Ball recovery in that midfield area. This is the one that really surprised me. He's our highest over Trippier and Shea. So that is normally a stat that you would expect a defender to come out on top in, especially in a Newcastle team that's kept 5 back-to-back clean sheets. Obviously, these stats don't include the Champions League. But he's even... That just shows his work rate in there is really good, which is contributing to why we are better. And last, but certainly not least, he's ball carrying, which we know he's good at. That's what we've wanted to see more of, carrying the ball into the final third. He's top there over Gordon. He's top there over Fabian Schär, who we know likes to carry the ball out. So yes, I'm not going to sit here and say, stop praising Anthony Gordon, stop praising Kieran Trippier because Bruno's better. All I'm saying is some of them stats there. So I'm not always a believer in stats. Anyone who watches my videos knows. Sometimes depending on who they're against, what the matches have been, there's so many different outlying factors that can make a stat very misleading and easy to use for like a journalist and whatnot to suit their argument. But what we talked about here is just who's best for everything so far in this Newcastle side, and I could have showed you more. I didn't want to bore you too much, but Bruno is coming out in key areas. The ball carrying is so much nicer to see, and that one didn't surprise me because he's improved so much. To see that he's got the highest ball recovery is incredible. I'm loving every moment of him, and what I'm seeing with this Newcastle team, when Bruno is back firing on all cylinders, carrying us further up the field, linking up with his front three, we're a different team. We are, and I do feel like that freedom that he's got from having Longstaff behind him, and Elliot Anderson, can I say, because Elliot Anderson is doing a very reserved role at the moment. He's not bombing forward at every single opportunity and trying intricate little things in little pockets of spaces like what we've seen in the past when we've played him on the left-hand side of a front three. He is sitting in there. He is doing a little bit more of the dirty work. And Bruno now has just got this role where, yes, he's going to keep putting his work in, as I've just talked about, but he's here, there and everywhere, and he's really, really enjoying his football again, I think, in these last 2 or 3 matches, and that is only going to bode well for us going into this Champions League game on Wednesday. So Bruno massively stole the show for me, and those stats I found absolutely fascinating, so I hope you did as well, Newcastle fans. Next talking point from me from Saturday is not so much of a positive one, but it's certainly something for reflection. Now, going into this season, we all felt like squad depth for us was looking incredible. I said it numerous occasions. After that pre-season weekend when we had Fiorentina and Villarreal, and we fielded 2 different teams and scored 6 goals, winning that trophy comfortably, the Cellar Cup. Still can't get over that day. Where were you when we won the Cellar Cup? But that weekend was like, wow. You know, defence, we've got Lascelles, Cher, Botman, Kraft when he's back fit. Burn can play there. We've got Hall, Trippier, Livramento, Target for full-back positions. Then midfield, Longstaff, Bruno, Joelinton, Willock, Anderson. So many players in every position. And I was quite comfortable with our squad. And I've been like that for most of the start of this season. Like, if he comes out, he can come in. What we are suddenly looking at now is maybe how stretched our squad can be when injuries hit. And all I mean by that is, for example, we've lost Sven Botman. Devastated. Absolutely devastated. For some of the big games coming up, he'll be gutted. But he is probably the most important player in our side in terms of their importance to everything good that we do. And from a defensive point of view, Sven Botman must be Eddie Howe's first name on the team sheet by a country mile. Literally, Eddie Howe does not even have to think about that name. It's just, I'd be surprised if he even puts it on the board. Botman, just so you know, for the rest of the season, you will be playing every Premier League match, so don't bother looking at the team sheet. That kind of scenario. So he's good that he's gone. And then you see Lascelles come in, and I thought Lascelles on Saturday, for as little as he was maybe tested, I thought he was good. He grew into the game more. He started really shaky with the ball at his feet, and he grew in, and you know that you're going to get a solid aerial performance, I think, from Lascelles, it's fair to say. He is going to put himself about. He does have that aggression that you like to see, but he's just not quite the quality that you'd be looking for. We knew we never got a centre-back, but then we looked to other areas on the pitch, and now that Joelinton's pulled up again, that central midfield area, without Joe Willock, who's obviously nowhere near being back yet, without Joelinton, the midfield 3 is pretty much picking itself of Anderson, Bruno and Longstaff, because I'm still not convinced that Tonali is fully bedded in. Quite honestly, I look at Tonali and I wonder now in hindsight whether Longstaff being a little bit unfit and not quite match sharp at the start of the season was the only reason Eddie Howe threw him in. He doesn't normally do that with players. He hasn't got a track record of throwing new signings in from the get-go, particularly ones from abroad. So I don't think that was ever part of his plan. It is going to be a slow transition. I'm not as worried about Tonali as maybe I've made out when I've spoke to fans on match vlogs and whatnot. He's a fantastic footballer. But injuries, it just goes to show how overnight squad depth can go from looking brilliant on paper to not so much. And even you look in the wide positions, Gordon's suspended for West Ham. Barnes is out until the new year. So you're looking for that West Ham game in mind. Murphy and Almiron, really, unless Joe Linton can come back fit and you play him on that left-hand side. We've always had versatile players, which Eddie Howe loves, and it makes total sense. But one of them's Joe Willock and he's out. One of them's Joe Linton and he's out. Barnes, devastated about him. And then strikers, we already knew we were short there. And that's another big area of concern for me. Callum Wilson's hamstring problem kept him out on Saturday. Isak got a knock midweek. Eddie Howe was asked in his press conference on Friday, if both strikers are injured, what are you going to do? And he said, we'd have to plan for that in training, but I've got a plan. I'm worried. I think Anthony Gordon's the only really outlet that you can play there. Joe Linton, if he's fit, because he's played there before and he's big and strong to hold the ball up a little bit and put himself about. But suddenly, I don't mean to sound negative, but because these injuries are starting to cripple us, we're a lot weaker in defence now because we didn't bring that centre-back in the summer. That quality centre-back. Obviously, not many are going to be close to Sven Botman, but just that general next level replacement who could come straight into the team. Central midfield, where we always thought we were strong, that's now looking short and picking itself to a degree. And then wide areas, Harvey Barnes, the new man's out, they're picking themselves. And the striker, let's just keep our fingers and our toes crossed that there isn't a massive problem there. So I'm not worried, but I am concerned that if some of these players don't come back sooner rather than later, in 2 weeks' time, where we will be with this fixture congestion. Man United away in the Cup, league games week in, week out. Dortmund, PSG, Dortmund again. There's a lot of big fixtures coming up, there really, really is. And I don't want our season to be totally derailed by injuries crippling us. It's all well and good having fullbacks. Your Livramentos, your Halls, your Targets. That's not an area we need right now. I'm not going to say the transfer window is going to come back to bite us on the arse, because we had our hands tied behind our back with what we could spend. But suddenly now, our squad depth's already being tested. So it's a concern. It's a one where I really hope our luck changes, but also players come back. Final point for me today has got to be the power of momentum. What we have seen in a fantastic 2-week period is footballers totally transform our season after the international break in such an early stage of it, but also suddenly get used to keeping clean sheets and used to winning football matches. And I don't think, if last season and the season before when we avoided relegation proves anything, never underestimate momentum, Newcastle fans. It's with us now. Our defenders are getting used to keeping clean sheets. Our attackers are getting used to scoring goals. And we as a team and a stadium and a fan base and a management and an ownership are getting used to winning football matches again. And I could not have thought of a better time than our first Champions League game in 20 years in what promises to be a nail-biting, emotional, amazing night. One that I feel so lucky and blessed to be able to go and witness on Wednesday. No better time for our momentum to carry into that. And who knows what can happen in St James's Park. PSG are the favourites, of course they are. They have some of the best players in world football. But with that home form I mentioned at the start of this video in mind, momentum is with us, and it is such a powerful tool, and I'm absolutely over the moon it's back, and I'm curious where that momentum can take us. I said for this Burnley game, keep doing more of the same, lads, and let's get over the line. They did that, and this momentum is not only just being carried by winning matches. What's exciting is that this Newcastle team now, in 2 matches against Brentford, Man City and Burnley, we've proved that this team has levels, it has gears. And we are becoming a side now where Brentford and Burnley, we don't necessarily have to come into that 4th or 5th gear. We can stay in 2nd or 3rd and still win the football match. But still win the football match where you are talking about Newcastle as being comfortable and quite routine. That's exciting, because we know this team has more levels to bring against PSG than what we saw on Saturday. We just need to pop it into 5th gear and bring it on. And I've never known a Newcastle team to have levels. I've known us to play one way only, and that be pretty mediocre for most of my life. So that's where I want to finish on a real positive after talking about the injuries, is the momentum's with us no matter who we have available squad-wise. And let's keep rolling. Let's keep going with it. But our season feels like, after this last 2 weeks in particular, it's really, really got properly started now. Newcastle fans, let me know in the comments what you've thought about this season so far. Let me know what you thought about Saturday, what you took away from it, going into that huge Champions League game on Wednesday, which of course I will be at. I'll try and document a match vlog. I'm not going to video the game because I know there's a lot of fans not going to be able to get in there. I like to get little snippets, but I want to soak up every single moment and really take in what will be a fantastic night. Win, lose or draw, it'll be a fantastic night. Newcastle United and St James's Park are back in Europeans Elite. Bring it on. Newcastle fans, if you've liked this video, drop us a little likey-loo. Little one of them. Whack us a subscribe. And of course, there'll be more videos coming before that huge night on Wednesday. So whack that subscribe. You can hit the notification bell. I always forget to mention that. If you do want to be notified when I post, do that now. Have a fantastic week because, my God, it's about to get a little bit juicier as it goes on. However, Eddie Howe's clean sheet, Mags.